All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining me for this 10 o'clock a.m. weather update. I'm CBS 19 meteorologist Joel Robinson. We're going to cover everything about the severe weather chances into this afternoon. We are watching CBS 19 live radar right now, and we're starting to see some shower activity move here across the area. And we're starting to get a little bit of destabilization just south of this stationary boundary that's currently situated basically just north of this line of showers. And if we can get a little bit more destabilization, instability is really key in getting thunderstorms south of this front. We will have that better chance for some severe thunderstorms as we head into this afternoon. At this point, it's a pretty low-end chance. We do have a scattered risk for strong to severe thunderstorms from Marshall down to Palestine and areas further to the south. But at this point, the fog has really caused things to be a little bit changed into this afternoon, especially when it comes to the destabilization. If we can get enough destabilization just south of the boundary here, which is along and south of I-20, we'll have a chance for maybe 3 or 4 strong and severe thunderstorms. But if we can't get enough energy in the air, in the atmosphere, we likely may only see maybe a few showers, maybe a few run-of-the-mill thunderstorms, and maybe still 1 or 2 strong to severe thunderstorms. Some of the other parameters are in place for these thunderstorms to happen, but it's a question on whether or not we can get enough energy in the atmosphere across deep East Texas to really get these storms to go. Now, severe storms, we are going to continue to expect that, with the strongest storms producing 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and 1-inch diameter hail. The tornado threat at this point has subsided. I do not really expect any tornadoes for today, but again, those two hazards, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts and 1-inch hail. Fog is still kind of lingering in some parts of the area, which is kind of affecting things at the surface and will later be in effect for the thunderstorms if the visibilities continue to be at this rate here. So around 2 3/4 mile visibilities for Henderson, 2 miles for Longview, some areas of dense fog there. They have improved since earlier, these visibilities, and it's a matter of whether we can get these numbers to kind of go up through the rest of the afternoon. Now we're looking at storm energy. Again, a lot of it is still expected to set up across deep East Texas, but it is very weak, and maybe some areas with moderate buoyancy, moderate storm energy. Buoyancy is what we really need for the air to rise into condense into clouds and eventually thunderstorms. If we don't have enough of that, no thunderstorms, maybe just a few showers. And at this rate, we're expecting weak to moderate storm energy into this afternoon, so I don't expect anything too terribly widespread. Again, it's very conditional. If we can get enough energy, if we get the fog to move out of the way, we'll get some more additional severe thunderstorms and just thunderstorms in general. Here's what I'm talking about with the tornado parameters. Basically nothing. At this point, not really expecting anything in the way of tornadoes for today. So that's some really good news there. Here's what it all looks like on future skycasts. So we're talking about the 2 to 3 p.m. time frame for these storms to kind of start ramping up here. This model suggesting that we do get enough energy in the atmosphere across deep East Texas to get maybe a few passing strong storms. Not expected to be super duper widespread, but pretty big in coverage with some of these storms all the way through this evening. And this is all ahead of a frontal boundary, which will eventually continue to move further to the south. So we're talking about the 3 p.m. all the way into the 10 p.m. time frame. Again, for locations along and south of I-20. So we're talking Jacksonville, Palestine, Crockett, Nacogdoches, Center, San Augustine, Lufkin, and Groveton. That's all going to be until 10 o'clock. And then once that cold front passes, because we have another boundary ahead of this stationary boundary that's currently right overhead, and that is going to collide with this boundary that we have right now. And we'll have that chance to get a little bit of extra lift, too, for these storms to eventually pop. So once that comes through, by late tonight, all of the activity should be out of here, again, after 10 o'clock, and we'll be off into the upper 40s to low 50s for tomorrow afternoon. Here's what we are looking at as far as rainfall. I think the strongest storms will have the potential to maybe produce 1 to 2 inches. I think a flash flooding risk is certainly not out of the question, especially given how dry it's been. The ground is very dry. It can't really absorb as much moisture at this point. And with the amount of rain that's going to be falling with some of these thunderstorms, again, expect maybe some ponding over roadways and especially over areas with poor drainage, and even just the ground itself being so dry, can't really absorb too much rainfall. So again, flooding could be a possible issue. But aside from that, I mean, this is some good beneficial rain. We need this. We are in a moderate to severe drought in parts of East Texas. So this is definitely some beneficial rainfall aside from the hazards that we're going to be experiencing with some of these stronger storms. So again, to recap, 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. along and south of I-20. That's going to be your best bet to see severe thunderstorms. Wind and hail are going to be the two main hazards. 60 miles per hour winds, or 60 mile per hour winds, and 1-inch diameter hail. Those are going to be your two main hazards with these storms. Definitely make sure to keep in tune with us on our CBS 19 app. Of course, if you're here on social media or on CBS 19 Plus, I will be going live once again at 11 o'clock this morning for some more information. And also make sure you have a sturdy shelter nearby should you encounter any sort of severe thunderstorms. So as we get into this weekend, this is all going to be behind a cold front, or I should say the storm should be behind or in front of the cold front, and then behind the cold front we got temperatures cooling down into the 50s for the weekend, and then we are going to be very dry, very quiet all the way through next week, and temperatures will steadily rise back into the 60s. So that is the latest information that we have so far. I'm going to leave you with this real quick. I'm going to go back to, for those of you guys who are just joining me, I'll go over this one more time. I'm going to show you just what we can expect timing-wise and position-wise once again here. So again, 3 p.m. to 10 p.m., mainly for areas along and south of I-20, Marshall, Henderson, Jacksonville, Palestine, any location that's in this yellow area is going to have the best shot for severe thunderstorms. The two main hazards here, again, 60 mile per hour wind gusts, 1-inch diameter hail. Not really concerned about tornadoes at this point. It's really going to be dependent on the fog, and that's kind of made some allowed for some adjustments with some of the data sets as far as how much energy we're going to be seeing given the fog at this point. You can see only weak to moderate energy into this afternoon. A lot of the energy will be further to the south towards Lufkin, Nacogdoches Center, and it's really going to be in pockets. It's not going to be super widespread. We'll at least get some thunderstorms out of it at most, or at least, I should say, thunderstorms out of it with maybe a few run-of-the-mill or severe thunderstorms into the afternoon. And again, not really worried about tornadoes for today, so that is some good news there. That's not going to be too much of a concern. One more look at future skycasts. There'll be some dry time in between some of these showers and thunderstorms into the afternoon. So we are expecting these storms to kind of move in around 2 to 3 o'clock, kind of in waves, just parallel to the front that we're watching right now. Across East Texas, this is a stationary boundary, and then we're watching a cold front to move in a little bit closer to kind of help these storms to pop a little bit more, and should be out of here by the late evening. And again, 1 to 2 inches of rainfall easily possible within some of the strongest storms. Nacogdoches Center, likely maybe around 1 to 2 inches of rainfall. Of course, the positioning can change, but just generally in deep East Texas, you're going to see the most rainfall into today. So 3 p.m. to 10 p.m., that's your time frame. Wind and hail, those are your two impacts. And of course, make sure to download our CBS 19 app. If you have CBS 19 Plus, you can download that on your smart TV, and of course have a sturdy place of shelter once again. And then after all of that, we're going to be much cooler. Temperatures in the 50s, 60s, and we should be mostly sunny all the way through the week. So that is the weather update that we have for right now. Join me at 11 o'clock this morning for the next weather update.